Welcome to the Online SuperCoach podcast. Today, I'm actually pretty excited and maybe a little intimidated, but we have Grant Lira in here, and he is a podcast expert. So he's going to. So I'm really excited to talk to him since we obviously have our own Online SuperCoach podcast. So we could get a lot of tips and tricks from him today. But first, Grant, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited for the interview, super excited to be on the pod. And, one of the things about podcasts that I think a lot of people, misunderstand or don't always grasp fully is they're actually one of the hardest platforms to grow organically. It takes a lot of time and work to actually grow a podcast. So whether you have, 50 monthly listeners or you have 500, be super proud of that, because that's a huge achievement. And as long as you stay at it, that's going to continue to compound and you're going to see much bigger numbers and, really building out that tribe. So yeah, I'm super, super happy to be here.
Yeah, that's great. So we always like to start off with a phrase or a mantra, something that that's maybe motivates you or speaks to you on a daily basis. So if you have something like that you're interested in sharing with our audience.
Yeah. So essentially, it was something that my mentor actually told me, and I kind of adapted it a little bit to myself. The thing that he told me was, money loves speed. And the way that I kind of look at it is success loves speed, because whether you judge success off of money, off of different achievements, off of, your personal life, whatever that is, I've always found for me to be true is if you're going to do something, do it quickly. And I think that perfection is the enemy of getting it done, because you can start to nitpick every little thing. And what's going to happen is you're going to realize this thing that I could have got out and had probably 80% there that would have taken me maybe a day, a week, is now taking me 4 months. And all that progress, all the momentum I could have had, and I could have been refining whatever I'm doing at that time to get it to 100, is now lost. So whenever I have something to do in front of me that seems daunting or something that just seems like crazy to do, my goal is always to just start working on it immediately, get it up to about 80% of where I need it, and then start rolling with it that way. Yeah. So if I could, tell anybody to take one thing to take away here is success loves speed. Just do something and do it with thoughtful speed, right? Not sloppy, but make sure you're implementing it the right way.
Yeah. So I cannot agree with that. I can't believe you just said that, because I say that all the time to a lot of my clients. A lot of times, so I have partners in some of my other businesses, and it's so frustrating to me that everyone is so afraid to move forward or is such a perfectionist with things, and they'll never get off the ground. You're never going to get off the ground unless you do this, So sometimes our clients come on and they think that they need to, have a logo before or a website or brand themselves. I'm like, you don't have any clients. You don't have a business. You don't have a brand.
Yeah.
So you don't need that. First, let's get you some clients and get some money, and then you build that up and you make some more money and you can invest it, and we can figure out what the best place is to invest in your business. But you don't need to have, however your business looks the day you start is going to be different than in 3 months from now, a year from now, 6 months from now.
Jeez, oh yeah, 100%. And don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of this too, right? When we started, it was all about the perfection of getting everything perfect and making sure the website's perfect and making sure my sales stuff is perfect and making sure our systems are perfect. You can war game it in your head all you want, but as soon as you actually get out there and start doing it, everything your plan A, B, C, D, E, that you're I got everything figured out, all of a sudden problem F, G, all these other problems are going to come up you never thought of. And it's
exactly. So exactly. So as much as you think everything is perfectly in line on day one, it's fine. But in 3 years from now, that your business will be so much more evolved. And what you think of your business look like the first day, it'll be like the Mesozoic era. It's not even going to be close to how you are today. So I say that I cannot agree more with I can't believe that's what you just said, because you must have listened to another podcast or something.
The universe wanted us here today. They wanted us.
I say that literally all the time. So Grant, tell me, let's just get into you a little bit more. Obviously I'm really interested in hearing more about the podcasting, but just why don't you give our audience a quick little, tour through your chronology of your career? How'd you get into it?
Yeah, no, 100%. So basically, I started the empathy firm with my brother in college, actually. But if you rewind a little bit before then, I was in high school. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I knew that, I'd figure it out along the way. And so something I did right out of high school was I joined the Army National Guard here in Wisconsin, which is where I am originally from. And I went to basic training. I got to jump out of airplanes. I went to airborne school. It was super fun. But I think the thing that I really took away from that was discipline and hard work, right? Those two things are pretty stereotypical of the military, and I think that kind of formed me into a really good candidate to be somebody who can run a business, right? Because there's a lot
Yeah.
of not just the physical stuff's one thing, but the mental stuff is a whole different ballpark, right?
Yeah.
So I go to college. Uncle Sam's paying for it, so that's pretty awesome. Still didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was sitting there. And for the longest time, I thought I wanted to be a personal trainer or something like that because I always liked fitness. I always liked that stuff,
Yeah.
but it just wasn't clicking for me. And here I am, like in college. I think it's probably my sophomore year, maybe, just lost. Like, I don't know what to do. I want to move in some direction. And one of my good friends that I actually went to high school with went to the same college I did. And he hit me up one day and he said, "Hey, Grant, come on over to this organization I'm the president of. I think you'd really like it." I go, "Okay, man, what's the org?" He's like, "It's a business org. Like, come on over and just see what it's about." I didn't have much interest, but I liked my friend. I'm like, "Sure, dude, I'll go, whatever." I show up and immediately I'm like, okay, this is something that I could see myself doing. And it was funny how the universe works, because basically in that same, I think probably week or 2 weeks, my brother Gavin Lira, he gives me a call when I'm in my apartment and he says, "Hey, here's the plan I have for the empathy firm. Are you in?" And of course, he's my brother and I, trust him with my life. I tell him, "Yeah, dude, I'm in. Let's do it." And so we started, building the empathy firm in the beginning when we were both in school. And we one of the other mantras, or one of the other things that I
Yeah.
learned to embrace, was failing forward. Right? We made so many mistakes in the beginning. We messed up so much, but it was awesome because we got to learn from those mistakes and learn what not to do, so we didn't do that thing again. I'm a firm believer of it only being a true mistake or a true failure if you do it twice. Right? You have to
Right.
learn from that failure. So the months go on, and we're setting everything up, we're doing all this stuff, and we actually fall into some amazing mentorship through outreach we did online, to find mentors of people that were in positions we'd love to be in ourselves. That helped us shortcut a ton of our initial traction in school. And as the years go on, now we've been blessed enough to keep growing, hire some extremely awesome publicists, extremely awesome people in our company that are absolute rock stars. And that sort of brings us to today. But that's a
Yeah.
little bit of the Grant Lira origin story.
So is your brother still involved with the company?
Yeah, he is.
How does that work? Like, some people do work with family, and some people do it. It's like sometimes it's tricky, sometimes it's really smooth.
That's a great question, and I've been asked that question a ton, because I think there's a saying that's like, don't do business with family, or don't work with family, something
Yeah.
like that. And through my experience, I couldn't have asked or been given a better partner in something like this. It's been something where we've never had to worry about money, trust, anything like that. Those things are completely established between us, and we have no inkling of a intention that one of the
Yeah.
other is
Yeah.
gonna, screw each other over. So
You guys
for
have
us,
a great
it,
relationship.
oh, 100%. It's been amazing. And it's actually made our relationship a ton stronger, like a ton stronger. Because we
Yeah.
always, we were brothers, but we were kind of interested in different things when we were growing up, and we were never like super close. But through business, I mean, we bonded really hard, and it's been an absolute blessing to work with my brother.
You guys have like a division of responsibilities. You guys figure it out that way, so you're not always on top of each other, kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. So it basically
So
stemmed
tell
from
me
like
about what
when,
MPT
yeah,
firm does first. Like, why don't you tell the audience
gotcha.
more of what that is, and then because that's kind of skipping a step, I guess.
Yes. So basically, what the empathy firm is at a high level is we help people reach audiences through conventional and non-conventional media placements. What does that mean? Essentially, that means we help people get booked onto podcasts where their ideal client profile would be listening. And then we take that podcast that they do and record, and we actually chop it up for short form vertical. We chop it up for long form YouTube. We can pull stuff for tweets. We can pull stuff for blog posts, LinkedIn posts. We even get them in press articles. So at the end of the day, our goal is to have this one piece of long form content fueling their entire everything else. And when that works correctly, and when we're actually getting people in front of the right audiences, which is obviously our goal, what happens is two things. The first being they have a bunch of new warm inbound leads, coming to them from all these different channels. And then the second thing that happens, which is really exciting, is for their ideal client profile, they become really hard to ignore online. So it's a system we created. It's called the Michelangelo system. And it's something that I'm super proud of. And, my brother did most of the heavy lifting on actually configuring the system, but that's essentially what we do.
That's a lot. Why do you call it the Michelangelo system?
Yes, I love that question. So the sculptor, Michelangelo, right?
Not the turtle.
Not the Ninja Turtle. No, we have a we have a system called, I call it the Raphael system, which is after the Ninja Turtle, which is basically our outreach system and stuff that we do, but that's a completely different page. This Michelangelo system is based on the sculptor, right? So he always said that when he was sculpting, he could see the sculpture inside the block of marble before he ever put hammer to chisel and started working. And that's exactly how we feel about podcasts. We see all of this stuff inside of it and we see the vision. We just need to be the ones to actually pick up that hammer and chisel and start, getting it out of there and making it look pretty.
Yeah. So you help, what about, do you help them also create their own podcast and do it, or is it just getting them on other podcasts in their niche?
So like I said at the beginning of the podcasts, podcasting is one of the hardest platforms to grow organically. And we did try that in the beginning, try to help people start their own podcasts, but we just kind of saw that it was easier for us to get better results if we would place them on other podcasts that already had audiences, that already had this stuff. Because
then they're just the guests being asked questions. It's a lot simpler than having to do everything else.
And creating your own podcast is a great long-term play, right? But it's just that, it's long-term. So like if that's something you're looking for to build your tribe, to build an audience, like absolutely you can go and start your own podcast. And actually I'll give everybody who wants this little sheet we made, but it's called a podcasting warm app. It walks you through exactly how to, 100%. I will. It walks you through, I don't know what a podcast is, to my podcast is on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, all the major ones. It'll save you a ton of research, but podcasting is really good for building that audience. We just saw that it took a long time to actually like get that listenership in. So we looked to say, okay, is there a way that we could leverage the time that other people have put in and already got to this kind of pillar where we could just place our clients on there? And that's kind of what we saw working the best for ROI and leads and everything like that.
That's terrific. So have you worked with any names that I would recognize, or is that not confidential stuff you want to?
Yeah. So we do have NDAs with most of our clients, but like if you look on our website, there's some case studies of clients who are cool with us sharing their stuff. But I'll just say we've been blessed to work with some really cool people that I'm like jazzed to be working with. And we've also worked in industries that I never thought we'd be working in / know existed. And that's always fun to, test and see what we can achieve there.
Any wins, anything so how did it, like any success stories that you could, without necessarily compromising the NDA, like could you just tell us like some of the things you were able to successfully achieve with?
I mean, the biggest, and I think probably the most sought after goal in something like this is ROI, right? People love to see ROI. And so we have this one client and he came to us kind of in this time of, hey, my company is doing pretty good. I just want to expand and try some like non-conventional, forms of marketing, aka podcasting. Let's try that. And we said, yeah, 100%, man, let's do it. So we're working with him. And I think at this point, we've been working with him for about 6 months. So don't think that this stuff happens right off the bat, right? But we've been working with him for a while. And we're gathering all these metrics, we're gathering this data. And when it came time to actually look at the numbers and look at what business was not only brought in, but obviously signed and closed, we found that for him, he was averaging 3.5 new signed clients for every single podcast that he appeared on all the way back, right? We took all of them into accounts. And so we looked at what he was bringing in MMR side of things. And for every podcast, he'd essentially be bringing on like 54K of new MMR business because he's a relatively higher ticket service. So that's like incredible. We love that. And in conjunction with that, he's been using the Michelangelo system to repurpose all the content and building brands on other socials. So, I mean, that's probably like the case study of like what it can do when podcasting is done thoughtfully and effectively.
That's a phenomenal idea. So okay. So this is so interesting. So this is something, so our audience are mostly trainers and coaches, right? And they're looking to pick a specialty. So we really preach to them to not just be like, hey, I help people lose weight between the ages of 20 and 1,000, So like we try to tell them to, we coach them to really pick a niche, like try to identify where you're special and how you could stand out from from all the other trainers out there, right? So this is something that maybe they could do and really further complement their specialty. So like it really shows that, wow, they are like the premier guy to help how football players recover from running backs recover from an ACL. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they could become that guy because you could see he's on all these podcasts and as seen on these things. So that's really where I could see maybe they have that. Does that make sense?
100%. And the kind of cool thing about at least how we do podcasting is it's more focused on that ICP. And I think that's where we found the gap, right? Is a lot of podcasting agencies were just kind of saying like, who do you want to talk to? And then getting them on like shows and rinsing and repeating. And I guess, that's totally fine. And I'm sure that stuff works great. But where we kind of saw the gap was, okay, after that initial conversation of who do you want to talk to? Who do you want to get in front of? What does that look like? Cool. We'll get you on shows that we believe have that audience. Then what? Right. So we look to see how can we actually measure results? How can we actually measure if we're moving in the right direction or not, or if we need to move, further away from a certain direction? So we implemented a pretty cool system that can attribute exactly where people come from. And then what we're able to do with that is basically say at the end of, the month, hey, look, you guys had this many leads came from this podcast, this many of them closed. I think that we need to drop all of the I think, I hope, I feel data and literally just do what the market is telling us is working for you guys and get you in front of more of those people. So for like finding your niche and that stuff, it can definitely be super helpful, especially if you already have like a idea roughly of where you want to go to. But yeah, what I've always done with, pricing our packages, with finding our niche, is I've always been letting the market tell us what is working for us and actually get 100%, right? We need to find that product market fit. We need to find our market fit, and the market doesn't lie. You have to listen to it, right? So I can get into like how we do that stuff, but I don't want to dive too deep.
No, but what you're saying resonates with me as well. I mean, I've always had a very impartial, very, very almost cold-like impartial view of like how to price out any of the products, services in any of my businesses. Because, if you ever talk to any business owner, I feel like they always have a very subjective, view of how valuable their service is, their product is. Oh, I do this, but at the end of the day, how is it selling? At what volume is it selling? How successfully is it selling? At what percentage is it selling? And that really dictates, to me, what the price should be. So what you're saying to me is a little bit slightly different vein, but I 100% agree. You kind of let the market dictate to you what it is, because that is what it is. If you think your house is worth whatever amount, but it's
That's a
sold
great
at this,
analogy.
if you sold it at this amount, well, that's the value because that's what it was sold at, no matter
Exactly.
what you
Yeah.
say.
No, that's a great analogy. And like the way that we've always done it is we, war game in our head, like, okay, I think it's probably worth this much, right? Let's go like $1,000 under that and see what the market says. We
Yeah.
start closing all these deals. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's go up 1,000. Still closing deals. Cool. Let's go up another 1,000. Still closing deals. Cool. One more
Yeah.
time. Stop closing deals or close a dramatically,
Yeah.
smaller percent of deals. Okay, cool. We hit our cap. Let's back it back down a little bit. That's where we fit.
Yeah,
That's right
little
where.
trial and error. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Even if you're
exactly.
changing the price on current existing customers, if you
Oh,
change the
sure.
price, if you change the price on existing customers, you raise it up a bit, and nobody cancels. That means you didn't raise it up enough. No, but seriously, that means you didn't find the edge. If you went up, you got to find a point where it's like a little bit, a little uncomfortable, and then you that's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I agree.
So that's kind of where I was thinking. So that's, so this a lot of stuff resonates. So you talked about your pricing, the packages. How does that, what kind of packages are there? Like what is included in different types of packages and what are the costs?
Yeah, so we have a few different ways to get started with us. We essentially have one way that's just, straight up podcasting and the attribution and optimization component of things. That's something we do. That's a 2-month agreement, 3.75K. We have the whole Michelangelo system. So that's the podcasting, the attribution optimization, and then all of the content repurposing. That's 4.5K for 4 months. And then we also have like some bigger tier packages for people who are really like, hey, I want to turbocharge my business. That comes with a ton of different podcasts, a ton of content. We're managing a lot of different stuff for those clients. We have a package for 14K. That's for like the big players. That's for people who really want to get out there. But that's essentially, how we kind of structure our stuff. We do have some other ways to get started with people if they're like, hey, I want to do this, but it's not necessarily within my budget right now. We can absolutely talk about doing some slightly custom packages if it makes a little bit more sense to, get somebody in the door, prove the concept, and then say, hey, look, this is working. It's time to scale it, right? We know you want to grow. We want to see you grow. Let's graduate to one of the bigger packages and really, put the pedal to the floor.
So even in on like the introductory one, the 2-month one, does that include so like how many podcasts does that mean? Like is it like 1 month? Is it 1 a week? Is it 1 a day? I have no idea. Like what would the commitment level on the customer side look like?
Yeah, so all we ask for the first package and actually the second package is just 3 hours a month, and that's going to be spent actually hopping on the podcast. So we'll go ahead and guarantee at least 3 podcasts a month. For some clients, if they're like, hey, Grant, my calendar allows me to do more, cool. We can definitely talk about that and talk about, what we want to actually aim for. But our minimum that we do for each month is 3 podcasts a month.
3 podcasts a month. And so and you have, how do you do that? You have relationships with these other places, or you simply just, message out people and say, have a great, you have a figured out formula to do it to get them on.
So that's a really good question. There's 2 ways, right? The thing that I think sets us apart a little bit is what happens after the agreement is signed and the first, investment is made. The very next step that we'll take is we'll hop on a strategy call. I bring my team in for that call. Whoever we're working with brings their team in. And on that call, we go super deep into exactly what they already know about their ICP, where they found them before, what they like about them, what they don't like about them, what they want to be known for. We ask them all of these questions. So that way, at the end of that call, we have a super clear idea of exactly who we need to get them in front of in the beginning to start seeing those results. So what my team does with that then is they'll take a look at those, ICPs that we laid out on that call. They'll go ahead and roughly figure out where these people hang out at.
And for the audience, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but ICP.
Oh, yeah. Ideal client profile.
Ideal, like your avatars, your niches.
Yes. Your perfect clients. So what they'll do is they'll look to see where those perfect clients roughly hang out at online. And then they'll look to see what podcasts are talking to those people. And what we'll do then is obviously place them on those podcasts. Now, where it differs is we have obviously a big contact list of podcasts, we work with very regularly. And if we see that a few of those podcasts are perfectly aligned with that ICP, that's an easy win, right? We'll book them there. But the keyword was perfectly. If it's like sort of a match, I don't want to mess with sort of, I don't want to get like the mediocre results. I want to get really good results off the bat. So what we'll do is we'll actually research, okay, cool. These podcasts over here are the actual podcasts that, talk to these people. As your publicist that you'll have when you work with us, they'll actually go ahead and they'll outreach on your behalf. We make you guys a press kit, which is basically like just an I love me page. It's all your achievements and stuff like that. Send it out to them. And then we'll actually pitch you to these podcasts to get onto and, obviously have a great conversation with. So it can work a few different ways, but that's the main ways that we actually place people on the podcasts.
That sounds terrific. That sounds really, really good. So if anyone, our audience has any interest in, contacting you, how could they do so?
100%. So basically, if you think that, this is something that could possibly help your business, what you can do is shoot me an email. That's grant@empathyfirm.com, grant@empathyfirm.com. All you have to do is shoot me that email. And for the subject line, just put the title of this podcast so I know that, you qualify for this offer. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just for setting up a call, regardless of if we work together or not, I'll go ahead and place you guys on 3 traditional PR placements online. So online media, that's where we got our start. We have a ton of great contacts in the PR space still. So you go ahead, get 3 of those just for setting up a meeting. And something I'll do just for this podcast, because I said really it earlier. Oh yeah. And something else I'll do, because I said it earlier, is I'll also send out that podcasting warm app, which is like the A to Z, how do I make a podcast? What's an RSS feed? What do I need to do all that stuff? So yeah, just shoot me that email, grant@empathyfirm.com, and then just put the title of this podcast as the subject line, get that stuff sent over to you.
Oh, great. That sounds fantastic. Well, this is a nice business you have. I really like it a lot. And it really is open-ended because it's so many people I feel like could really, benefit from it. And again, just to reiterate, we always talk about the trainers and coaches becoming a specialist, not just a general practitioner, but a specialist in their industry, in their specific space. So this, like writing a book will do that, but there's, hosting big events will do that, but this certainly will. If you are simply just being interviewed on a very different podcast throughout the course of the month, which takes up very little of your time to do, and then all that content can be repurposed all over the place for all over your social media, for the whole month or even months in the future, and you'll just continue to get so much more exposure in front of your audience as the specialist, as the guru for, I don't know, the running back who needs ACL replacement, whatever it is. So this is a really, really great, easy and timeless, way that you could really get your name out there. So I think this is great. So Grant, I think you're doing a great job, and this is very, very interesting to me. So I really appreciate all the golden nuggets you've given us on this podcast.
I had a blast. This was super fun. Just thanks for inviting me out here. This was a great time.
No problem. All right. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Take care, everybody.